Hello, welcome back to 1874. It's Monday, so of course I am here, Dan Bardell, to review Tottenham Hotspur 1, Aston Villa 2. Little reminder that a show has already gone out on the channel. It came out last night. Myself and Villa legend, Villa icon, Dion Dublin talking straight after the game because we'd been working together, watching the game together. So I got Dion's thoughts straight away as soon as I could. And then as soon as I got home, I put it up on the channel. So if you haven't watched that yet or listened to it, make sure you do go back and check it out because it's always worth hearing from ex-Villa players on the channel when they're on, especially someone as knowledgeable and legendary as Mr. Dion Dublin. This show is sponsored by NordVPN. I'll tell you a little bit more about them later on, but if you scan the QR code that's on the screen, if you're watching via YouTube, or head to 1874.io/NordVPN, you'll be able to check out what they do and get yourself some extra football in your life, which is never a bad thing because there can never be too much football in your life. Right then, just watching people come in live then this afternoon. Of course, I'm really, really happy with the result and the performance yesterday. I've put in the thumbnail that it was it's the real Villa now. I feel we're seeing again Unai Emery's Villa back. That kind of win was the kind of win that we've knocked off for years with Unai in charge, and it felt so good to get that type of win yesterday, especially, the fact that we went behind as well, to come back and win in the way we did, showed resilience, showed grit, but also showed some great moments of football, and the 2 goals, absolutely outstanding. I think we'll all agree. So I think as people are saying here, Jay Rant says, work is absolutely dead. So I thought I'd treat myself to watching along live. Don't disappoint me. Let's get completely carried away with this win. Uncle Unai is taking us to the promised land. Everything feels so much more positive after a victory. But I think generally the run Villa are on, we usually kind of saved this run for that. Well, we saved this kind of run for the end of last season, didn't we, to try and qualify for the Champions League. We've thrown it in at a little bit of a weird time this time round, but from the position we're in to where we are now, although the league table doesn't reflect it probably, we're not where we'd hope to be. We're trending in the right direction now. We really are. So Jay Rant, I'm glad you're here live with me, but you're at work, so be careful. Enjoy the show responsibly. Let's not lose any jobs over watching 1874 live. Engine 9 says, hi Dan, Emmy, buen dia. Yep, humble pie from me, sat here today. At the start of the season when we weren't doing great, I was looking at Emi Buendia being back at the setup as being a little bit of a negative because it felt like a step backwards to me. But my God, 3 goals in his last 4 appearances. Super sub off the bench again, Emi Buendia, changing the game in Villa's favour. Deserves a huge amount of credit for the way he's revitalised his Villa career and just gets on with it as well. Probably a little bit aggrieved to not be in the team of late or the last couple of games, but just gets on with his job, comes on, makes an impact, helps change the game along with Ollie Watkins, and just what a goal that was, which I'm sure we'll come on to a little bit later in the show. Good afternoon to Michael Huggins as well. Hello to Rachel Inshaw Lewis, and hello to Gig Sharma, who says great vid with Big Dion. Great to see all the regular faces. I haven't done a live for a while, actually, so apologies for that. I don't know what the reason for that is. It's not intentional, but I do like doing a live and getting everyone's thoughts as we go through. John Griffin as well says that the Dion piece was great. Thank you very much. Let's maybe I could get Dion again. Actually, we've built up quite a good rapport. I might be able to get Dion back on the channel sooner rather than later. So I'll try and do that. I'll try and make that happen. And hello, Adam Morris, who tells me that he loves me. An afternoon from Australia. I love you too, Adam. Thank you very much for checking in live from Australia. Global channel here on 1874. Right, let's get into the kind of the tail of the tape then. I went through the game with Dion yesterday, but didn't do it in the normal way, obviously, because I was asking Dion the question. So try and go through the game as I saw it unfold yesterday, although I will say I'd had a fair few Guinnesses, don't know how you say the plural way of Guinness, but Dion and I consumed a lot of Guinness. We'd worked behind the bar as well and poured some Guinness for people that were there. And it's fair to say I'm not a Guinness drinker, and it did go to my head quite quickly, but I think I've remembered the game quite well. I've watched it back, so let's go through what I thought. I actually thought that we got off to a bit of a tricky start, and we're almost the masters of our own downfall at the start of the game with the way that we played out from the back. Obviously, I think the corner from the goal came from playing out from the back, and we looked a little bit nervy with it, which isn't something that we normally are. I don't know whether Tottenham had just got their press right in terms of the setup and the way they pressed us, but we just didn't seem to have any time, didn't seem comfortable with that playing out from the back initially. And of course, that first goal has come from a corner that was caused by playing out from the back. I will say we carried on doing it throughout the game, had a couple of other hairy moments with it. But, by and large, it's the plan, isn't it? I can't sit here and knock it when it's been something that's been so effective and something that we've used so well under Unai Emery, under Emery's tenure. So I'm not going to sit here and lambast us for playing out from the back because quite simply, it's what we do. But Tottenham did cause us problems with the way that they pressed us, and the goal came from it. As I say, little bit disappointing to obviously go behind in that way and go behind from the kind of first attack again. It just seems to be still like a part of Villa's game. Maybe it's just a first half of the season thing, because the first half of last season it seemed to happen every single week, and I can remember it happening a few times already this season. But I guess the encouraging thing is that we went 1-0 down, but we've come back and won the game. I think I heard on Match of the Day too that Tottenham hadn't dropped any points from winning positions either before yesterday. So it's a huge achievement to go there and pick up a result. I know Bournemouth went there earlier on in the season and got a win, but to do it in that kind of resilient way, to come back from 1-0 down, could have been 2 as well. Obviously, Kudus was offside. He was causing us problems. He's a very good footballer, but if we'd have gone 2 down, that was an absolute energy sapper, and then you maybe see the game going the same way as it did last season when we got absolutely obliterated by Postecoglou's Tottenham away from home. But alas, he was offside, so it didn't count. And I thought we grew into the game in that first half. My main takeaway from the first half is, and this is an obvious thing to say, is just how important is Boubacar Kamara. Just breaks up the play, uses the ball so well. We're so fortunate to have him. He's genuinely one of the best number 6s in Europe, and I don't think people who watch the Premier League even realise how good he is. We obviously know because we watch him every single week, but to have a player like that in the middle of the park when things are maybe not as settled, and I felt we did take a while to settle into the game, and then once we did, we grew into it. But to just have someone like that in the middle of the park who can just do a little bit of everything, can offer you that defensive side, distributes the ball really, really well, almost just calms people down and settles everyone down. I thought he was really good in that first half, and a big part of us growing into that game. Obviously, team selection-wise, it was a bit of a surprise. We all thought Emery had said that Watkins was fit, but then he probably wasn't feeling himself on the way into the ground. So they decided on the day that they would pick Marlon up top and Watkins wouldn't be there. Now, Marlon may well have played anyway. We don't know what Villa's system was going to be. If Watkins had been fit, he would have played. So someone in that 11 wasn't playing. So someone's come in on fairly late notice and ended up playing that game. And we don't know what that's done to Villa's setup on the day. Maybe that explains the slow start. Maybe he was intending to go with Marlon off Watkins again, and he's had to put someone else in like Gesson and move everyone around. That would be my hunch that's what happened. Gesson maybe wasn't due to start, and it was Ollie who was due to start. And then we've had to kind of shift all the 3 that play off the striker around to accommodate that. And that's not what we will have worked on through the week. So maybe that explains it a little bit. But I thought Marlon, he kind of huffed and puffed in his time as the number 9. Realistically, he just isn't. He isn't a lone number 9, is he? He's not a centre forward who can play on his own up top. I thought we struggled without having Watkins as that focal point, and I thought Ollie was a big reason why the game turned around. Clever movement, lots of runs, but he isn't going to offer you the hold-up play that maybe you need away from home. So I do think maybe our initial struggle was something to do with the setup and the fact that we probably had to make a late change in terms of team selection. I'll try and get that absolutely confirmed, but that would be my inkling that's what happened. But once we kind of garnered control and got control of the game, I thought Kamara and Onana were good platforms. I've been critical of Onana, not because I think he's a bad player, only because he can't stay fit, and it's really, really frustrating and really annoying. And I expect more for £50 million in terms of what we've seen from him so far. But I was surprised to see him start over Bogard. I thought Bogard was pretty hard done by. Maybe the fact that Paulini is in the Tottenham midfield, a physical presence, maybe you and I wanted to match that and get Onana in instead of Bogard. I'm sure Bogard will get plenty of game time still. I'd expect him to play on Thursday, actually, in Holland. But Onana had a good international break as well in terms of getting some minutes under his belt. Emery obviously felt that it was a game for him, and he played him. And I thought largely against Tottenham, those two, Kamara and Onana, was a nice partnership, and it worked well and just gave us that stability again, a bit like the Burnley game where I thought Bogard and Kamara gave us the stability and the platform. Probably Onana and Kamara did the same yesterday against Tottenham. Rodgers has obviously scored an absolute worldie. I think there's some question marks over the goalkeeper. But to be honest, I was just glad that he shot, because so many times this season he's been a bit indecisive and not got his shot away when maybe I felt he should have done. His decision-making in the final third could probably have been questioned in the opening weeks of the season. But he got hold of that, didn't he? He made a decision that he was going to shoot. I've just knocked my camera down because I've banged the table. He decided that he was going to shoot, and he really let fly. Maybe took the keeper by surprise a little bit. I just thought he looked a little bit questionable, Vicario, for that goal. I've got to be honest. So it's a great strike. Don't take anything away from Rodgers, but if Martinez had been letting that in, I think we'd have all been a little bit critical of him. To be fair, he got a little bit lucky. Sometimes you need a little bit of luck. Maybe he hasn't had that luck as the season started. He kind of bobbled around, but he did do a great piece of movement in terms of he was running. My camera does not want to know, by the way, just wants to move on its own. Give me 2 seconds there because that is unacceptable from my camera just moving itself on its own. Maybe I need to keep still. What I was going to say is that I think Rodgers kind of went to run and then checked, and that kind of confused Xavi Simons initially. I think Xavi Simons was in his wheelhouse, was around him, and then Rodgers kind of checked his run. It was a clever little bit of stopping from Morgan Rodgers to get that ball in space. Now, he got lucky with the way that he bobbled, of course he did, but for him he was almost like a shoot on sight policy from Morgan Rodgers, and he got his reward. And I can tell you, Big Dion absolutely loved it next to me, Guinness flying everywhere when that went in. And I felt it was critical that we went in at half-time 1-1, to be honest. I think if you're not going in 1-1, perhaps the game's a little bit more difficult. It's a little bit of a different game in the second half because you're chasing a goal and maybe you go 2 down. But I thought to get back to 1-1 when we did, it stabilised us and gave us some confidence and gave us some belief. So that was a pleasing aspect of it. And you go into half-time feeling pretty good. People who watched the preview will know that for some reason I was very, very confident that Villa would win that game. Even when we went 1-0 down, actually, I still remain confident that my 2-1 prediction would come through. I've got to say, I'm getting my hot takes pretty good this season. Last season was a learning curve with them, but this season I've been pretty good with my hot takes. So great to see that we've won, and my prediction was right. I think Dave said 2-1 as well. So credit to him. In the second half, probably the same as the kind of the end of the first half, really, without being spectacular going forward. I did feel that we were the more likely. I thought we gave ourselves a really good platform. Consa made a great block up. At one point, we defended really well. Obviously, Matty Cash has picked up a man of the match. Luca Dean was finding space on the left-hand side. Pau Torres distributing like he always does. And then the two that I mentioned in front earlier, the midfielders. I just felt like we always had the platform. And if you looked at Spurs' bench and looked at our bench, we've got 9 players who arguably a lot of them could come in and change the game. And when we've had injuries earlier on in the season, maybe we didn't feel like that. I looked at Spurs' bench and just thought, there's not that game changer there for them. They've got good players there, but there's not anything that's going to initiate a spark. Whereas Villa, are bringing in Buendia, who's on good form, and Watkins into the game, who, has obviously been a great part of Villa for a number of years. They said on Match of the Day too, Shay Given, and I agree, that they just kind of turned the game, those two coming on. They linked up really, really well together. Rodgers, of course, didn't have to move, stayed in the central 10. Buendia operating from the left 10. Watkins likes to drift over in that side and seemed to have licence to do so. We just managed to cause them problems. Could have had a penalty. I think I'd have been annoyed if that had been given the other way against us. I think Danzo does get the ball, and I don't think there's any intent or malice in it. It's maybe a little bit dangerous, but where's he supposed to put his foot? Obviously, he's done damage to Luca D in there, but I do think it's a difficult one. I think it would have been harsh to give a penalty because he has cleared the ball, and I don't think it's an intentional follow through from him, but obviously very, very painful for Luca Dean. But the subs kind of won the game for Villa, and obviously the one sub literally won the game for Villa, Emi Buendia. I mean, I can't say anything that anyone else hasn't already said about that goal. It was absolutely fantastic. Matty Cash, where he's picked that pass from, how he's got the audacity to even try that pass, with the game set the way it was. It's an absolute arrow into Luca Dean. But as good as the pass is, and it's an unbelievable, phenomenal pass from Matty Cash, to have the kind of football brain to do that is incredible. The way Luca Dean takes it in an unnatural position on the right-hand side, it was actually a good thing that it was a left-footed player that was on that right-hand side for the way that Cash had arrowed the ball, but 2 touches of supreme quality from Luca Dean. And then simple pass to Emi Buendia, who just, takes that goal so well, doesn't he? Emi Buendia curls it into the bottom corner on his wrong foot. Scored a goal where he curled it into the corner on his right foot the other week in Europe. That's a player that's confident, and that's a player that wants to get himself in the team and wants to do his best for Aston Villa, and that's what he's done. It's an unbelievable goal, and as I say, massive credit to Emi Buendia for working his way back into the system and back into the team. He deserves it. He really, really does. So I hold my hands up and say that I was wrong with what I was saying when we were on a little bit of a bad patch, because Emi Buendia has proven himself now, and fair play to him coming back from that injury, and probably knew at times he wasn't wanted as well over the last 12 months to have done what he's done and become an important part of the squad again. It's great to see, and I've seen people in the comments talking about it as well. But Elliott and Sancho haven't got on the pitch again. Sancho's just coming back, so I more understand that. Harvey Elliott can't be happy with the situation that he's in, swapping Liverpool's bench for Villa's bench. I mean, at least he was getting on when he was at Liverpool. He'll be unhappy with not getting on 2 games in a row in the Premier League, but I've heard that he's a really, really good character around the place. He'll work hard. He'll try and get himself back into contention and get himself back in the team. But there's competition for places now, and that's a really, really good thing for us. It felt like the team might pick itself earlier on in the season, but players are starting to come to the fore now. We've got a couple of different ways of playing. We've sorted ourselves out defensively, although other than the Palace game, defence has been okay all season, I would say. But we found our shooting boots now. Looking at what our XG was, it was pretty low yesterday, but we've scored 2 absolute classic goals from nothing really yesterday. So fair play to the players, and they saw out the game relatively comfortably as well. I don't remember ever being massively worried by Spurs at the end of the game. Brennan Johnson's thrown one into the stands, but other than that, there wasn't really any massive pressure from Spurs. I think they'll be disappointed with how that game's gone for them, to be honest. But I saw Gabby and O'Hara doing a combined 11. I think we've got a better team than Spurs even still now after the disruption of the summer, and I would have said that before the game as well. So great result, great away from home performance. We've put in that kind of performance against Spurs previously under Emery. I think we've won 2-0 and 2-1 there under Emery, and then of course got battered last season, as I mentioned earlier. But we really, as Dub J says here, I thought we managed that second half well, limited them to some half chances. Great away win. I completely go along with that, Dub J. I thought it was really, really good. And Engine 9 says Emi Buendia is Villa's top scorer now. If I'm correct, I think you probably are. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. McGinn maybe got 3 or 4 as well. But that's it's a brilliant win. And as I say, I did do a show straight after with Dion yesterday, so go back and check that out, because I've probably a more elated version of what's happened. Let's have a look what people were saying in the chat. Chris B says, great result. Do we see Sancho and Elliott getting frustrated at the moment? They're not in our best 11. I think you've got to look at it from the fact that, maybe a few weeks ago, Emi Buendia wasn't in our best 11. Maybe now more people are putting him in. Pau Torres, the same. It fluctuates through the season. Things will happen. Players will get injured. Players will come back. Players will have momentum. They won't. The best 11 is probably always changing, and it's becoming less of a thing in football as well, isn't it? And especially with the starters and finishers as well. We saw yesterday, having good finishers is a massive thing. James is saying Elliott isn't getting a game if Buendia keeps his form up. I don't look at them as being direct competition at the moment, because Buendia's playing mainly from a left 10 position, which I don't think you'll ever see Harvey Elliott play as a left 10 for Villa, by the virtue of obviously being left-footed. So take the point, but I would disagree that it's Buendia that's keeping Elliott out of the team at the moment. If Elliott's going to get football, I think it's going to be as a right 10, which means a few things have to happen for him to get in there. And McGinn is playing in various positions, left 10 yesterday, right kind of 10 the week before against Burnley. But to have these options and have good players that we think are good players out of the team. Maybe I didn't see that happening at the start of the season, so they're nice problems to have, I would say. Steve says, I hope everyone can get off Emi Buendia and Matty Cash is back. 2 players who are honest and give what all of the Villa players should do. Matty Cash probably our player of the season so far. He'd be in the top 3 or 4, wouldn't he? I think I'd probably just about give it to John McGinn, but Matty Cash would certainly be up there. And let me tell you, yesterday, before we started filming, I was well, no, we were filming. I don't know whether it will make the edit, but for what Dion and I were doing yesterday, when I was speaking to him about the Villa team and the Villa players, he genuinely before the game said that he thinks Matty Cash is so consistent and that he's one of his favourite Villa players. And when I said, oh, actually, the fans are probably a little bit unsure, and there's probably a section of the fans that get on his back, and he's probably the main scapegoat, Dion was really surprised by that. So I don't think it'll make the edit of the Guinness shoot, but it was interesting to hear someone like that say that, because his perception of just watching Villa and maybe not hearing the noise that goes around Villa was that Matty Cash is really consistent for Villa and a really important player. So that's good to hear. I was really interested to hear Dion say that, actually. Emery Thing Villa, great name, says our slow start feels like the Leicester and Arsenal back-to-back defeats. That was in Emery's first kind of few months, wasn't it? I think a lot of the anxiety amongst the fans was the fear of losing the momentum of the last 3 seasons. I think it's fair to say now, Emery Thing Villa, that we've got that back now. It does feel like we've got momentum. Last couple of games now have convinced me that we've clicked, but I still think that there's gears to shift through and gears to move through, and that this Villa team can get even better. I said the Tottenham game was a big test of where we were at before it, and we've passed that test. But I'm probably going to say the same thing now with taking on Manchester City next week, because they're doing really well at the moment, up towards the top of the league. You know, if we can beat them, then it's a really good indication of where we're at, and that's going to be an intriguing tie, isn't it? On Sunday, really looking forward to getting back to Villa Park and watching us take on Manchester City, which hasn't, Villa Park hasn't been a happy hunting ground for them over the last few years. David Stiles says, if we can capitalise on this and integrate a fully fit and informed Tielemans back into the team, it's looking very rosy. Penny for Elliott's thoughts. I'm sure he'll be used more deep into the season. It's a long season. There's lots of games to come for Villa, isn't it? So when we're talking about people being unhappy, there's a long way to go. Even just to get to January, things can change. Even in 2-3 weeks' time, things can change. So players will change where they feel that they are in Emery's pecking order, and where we feel that they are in Emery's pecking order. John, who was at the game, says, I was right in line when Luca Dean brought that ball down for Buendier's goal. Incredible. That goal was poetry in motion. That's a great description of it. I've watched that goal maybe 100 times since yesterday. Absolutely unbelievable goal. Already a huge contender for our goal of the season. I would say we'll do well to better that goal. I know Shay Given was waxing lyrical about it on Match of the Day, saying that that's the best goal so far this season. He was very excited by that goal, wasn't he? Former Villa goalkeeper Shay Given. It's going to take a lot to beat that goal in terms of a team goal. I think you could even see Cash and Luca Dean kind of look at each other when they were celebrating, almost to be like, what have we done there? Look at what we've just pulled off. It's Emi Buendier's goal, but they were both a huge part of it, weren't they? Dale DeBank says, evening down from Oz, great win, showed some character. Kamara and Conte brilliant. Only negative was Onana, who still needs to show he's worth 50 million. I'd agree he's not shown that just yet, but I thought it was a decent performance from Onana in his first start for Villa for a long time. So credit to him. What else have we got here? I've got a course to go through Twitter as well. Hello, AVFC Stato. I don't know whether people know we do a show together every Friday. It comes out, the Stat Pack. So hello, AVFC Stato. Nice to see you watching live. Good commitment to the cause. What else have we got? Aston Villa 1874 is asking me about Tielemans. I think Jacob reported maybe was it last week, that it was a 5-weeker. So probably, I reckon, international break. It'll be around here sooner than we'd like it to be. I think it will be. I think Youri Tielemans will probably be back after the international break, maybe the game before, if we're very fortunate. But I think there's only 2 more league games before that next international break. I'd have to check, but yeah, they come around fast, don't they? And they come around when you don't want them to. Although maybe by then, maybe we'll be a bit more keen for an international break. Lord Sadie says, I want to know who wins in a mud wrestling competition between you and Rollo. I mean, I don't think anyone would want to tune into that. I can't imagine that would be a pretty sight. So either of us would be great at mud wrestling. I'm trying to think. I haven't got an intelligent answer for you around that one. Yeah, I'll give it Roller. I'll give it Roller. He can get angry, for people that don't know him. He's got a bit of a temper on him, old Dan Rollinson. So when he doesn't lose it often, but when he does lose it, he's got a temper. So I think if we were in a mud wrestling bout, I think his temper might give him the edge against me. Years of frustration of having to kind of be around me might come out. I don't know, but yeah, I'll give it to Rollo. I already read out Dub J's comment about the way we saw out the game. Right. Keep talking amongst yourselves in the chat. Oh, Charlie Hewitt, great question. Does Mings come back into the side to lock up Haaland? I mean, with Torres in the form that he's in, and everyone knows I'm Tyrone Mings' number one fan. With the form Torres is in and the form we're in generally, I'd be surprised if he did come back in for this one. And you'll remember, Torres was Villa centre-back for the last 2 victories against Manchester City, I believe. So, we've proved that we can put a lock on Haaland if needs be. But obviously, the form that guy is in at the moment, he's not going to be he's going to be a difficult task for whoever's up against him next week because he is on supreme form. Erling Haaland, yeah, absolute monster, isn't he? Absolutely ridiculous at the form he's in and the goals he's scoring at the moment. Villa Down Under, a lot of Down Under viewers today, which you love to see live. I don't know what the time is in Australia, but I'm imagining it's quite late. Says, I know we've won 5 on a bounce, so we really should be happy, but I'm still a bit worried if we lose Watkins up top. We're missing a bit of firepower if he goes. I mean, to be fair, he hasn't been in the goal, still only one Premier League goal this season, but just generally, I think you could notice that he wasn't there yesterday. Everyone will say what they say about me and Watkins, but I think you did know it was noticeable that he wasn't there yesterday. And when he came on, I thought we were a bit more fluid going forward and could do more of the things that we were good at. Even when he's not in the goals, he offers us more as a centre forward than anyone else is going to. He's the only actual centre forward at the club, isn't he? So I would be the same. But luckily, under touch wood, he's pretty durable, isn't he? He doesn't spend much time injured. So hopefully we'll be okay and he'll get back to full fitness for Thursday, Sunday. Maybe he sits out Thursday again, maybe comes on as a sub and starts the Man City game. You've got to hope that he'll be ready and fully fit for that Man City game. Let's look through the X/Twitter comments then. Kevin Hughes, great guy, Kev Hughes, says, conceded early again, but no panic. Grew into the game. Really good to see both goals down to genuine quality. We can see the confidence gradually returning to this group. Feared for D&V Kudus, but he kept him very quiet overall. Unai subs again. Round of applause. Really good summary of the game from Kev there. Appreciate that, Kev. I think that's a very good description of the game and have agreed with everything that you've said. Foxy says, very well-rounded team performance, good balance of solidity versus attacking threat. Yep, bang on. Shrugged off a bad start and with a difficult spell after the break. Subs made a really positive impact. 5 wins out of 5 up the Villa. Tell you what, some good stuff here on social media, which you won't always say about social media. Hot Diggity D says Conser was in imperious form again with Torres marshalling the offside trap and looking physically more adept and cashing the form of his life. Not to mention our left back options. Is defence suddenly a strength of ours? I don't think it's been a weakness this season at any point, really. Crystal Palace game got away from us a little bit, but I actually think defensively we've been pretty sound all season. I would say Hot Diggity D. Total Villa says a good result with few chances for either side. Not great to concede early on, but we responded well. Based on Scorequer, both our goals had an XG of 0.04, so 2 goals from a combined XG of 0.08. That's incredible, isn't it? 2 brilliant goals, but hopefully we see a few more well-worked chances in the coming weeks. Again, I'm agreeing with everything that's being said here on social media. Stuart Harper says, pure magic on so many levels. Points banked ahead in a brutal run. Belief garnered. Rodgers is a renaissance man. Buendia is like a new signing. Faith in Unai restored if it ever went. Pivotal win. The type that can trigger big things. Buzzing. Again, completely agree with that, Stuart. I said that, to win this game with what we've got ahead was absolutely massive, and I stand by that. To get 3 points going into the run of fixtures that we've got, taking on Manchester City and Liverpool. Liverpool obviously not in great form. They might have won by the time we go to Anfield, and we haven't got a brilliant record at Anfield. I can't think that they're going to just keep losing in the manner that they're losing at the moment. But to go into those games now with, some confidence of getting, I don't think we'd won away from home in the league yet, had we as well? So that's another monkey off our back as well. So it's a really, really huge win for so many reasons. We've got Leon Edwards says 2 shots on target, 2 goals. And then Michael Huggins says, is that the Leon Edwards MMA? Let's find out. Are you the Leon Edwards MMA? If so, I don't want to mess with you, but it'd be good to know if it was you, and if you are a fan of the channel, that would be excellent. Come along sometime. Come on the show by all means. If it is Leon Edwards, do let us know, please. Paul Lawrence just in the chat whilst I've gone back in there as well says, great to see Dion giving his post-match opinion. Torres ball still better, but with Haaland's strength, probably will be big Tyrone. I think it'll be Pal. Unless something happens on Thursday, obviously. I think you might see Mings on Thursday, Pal on Sunday would be my assumption. What else? Oh no, I've clicked off it. What else have we got on Twitter here? Just going through. Mike says Yorkshire Villa 1. Mike says everything we've come to love about Villa under Emery is still very much alive and nothing has been lost. Great tweet as well. JD says a change of mentality exemplified for the winner. Previous games, Cash would have passed back to Emma, but he took the risky pass and it paid off. We've been lacking in getting it forward quickly for far too long. The return of Powell and eventually Tillemans will step up our creativity. Yeah, to be fair, like since this kind of second round of Tillemans' injury, we haven't been speaking about him too much, but he's a player of the season last season, and he's not really been in the team, has he? So yeah, you think you got your player of the season to come back in as well. Suddenly things feel very rosy in the Villa garden. I've done half an hour, so I think that's probably enough of me. If you haven't watched the Dion video, of course, go back and listen to that, because you'll want to hear from the big man and what he has to say straight after the game. It's definitely more interesting to sit and watch Dion Dublin than it is to sit and watch me on my own. I've got to be honest. We all think that. Everyone would say that. So do go and check that out if you haven't done so already. NordVPN. Do get yourself that huge discount of 4 months free by heading to 1874.io/NordVPN. It's completely risk-free as well, because you do get a 30-day money-back guarantee with Nord, and thank you to them for continuing to sponsor us. So helpful on a Saturday when you want to watch that extra bit of football. NordVPN allows you to do that, so do go and check those guys out and support us as a channel by checking out what Nord do and signing up through our link. That would be really, really appreciated by everyone. If you've watched me on YouTube today, subscribe with your post notifications on, please, and leave us a comment and give us a like as well. If you can, subscriber numbers have gone up. I think we've just hit 28,500. I think the Dion factor has definitely helped with that. So if you could do that for me, if you're watching this right now and you're not subscribed, I'd really appreciate it. If you're listening via Apple or Spotify, give us 5 stars if you can. Leave us a review, leave us a comment. All these things help us appear in places that we wouldn't normally appear. Check out Founders Design if you want to as well. And if you do want to support the channel, no pressure at all, head to buymeacoffee.com/Dan Bardell and you'll be able to support the channel. I've had some great supporters and got some new equipment for the stuff I do when I'm not sat at a desk talking about Villa. That's come because people have been very generous on buymeacoffee.com. So thank you very much for that, because to be able to get that equipment is a game changer, really. So thank you very much. Hope everyone's still buzzing after win. Enjoy it for as long as you can. Obviously, we've got another game coming up in 3 days, and you'll, of course, see more content here on 1874 ahead of Thursday and ahead of Sunday. So watch out for that. Jacob will be back on the channel. He couldn't do today, but Jacob will be back on the channel as well very soon. He's a busy boy today, so I wanted to get his thoughts from the press box. The moment's probably past now by the time this comes out, but we'll get him on the channel through the week to talk about Villa. I know he enjoyed yesterday very much in the press box as well. Dan Rollinson on Claret and Blue has done a kind of vlog of his day in Tottenham hospitality as well yesterday, which I haven't watched yet, but will be going on to watch. I'd like to see how he's put that together and what it was like. So go over to Claret and Blue and check out that as well. And of course, Max Stokes, as always, I haven't watched that yet either, but Villa on Tour, everyone will know what Villa on Tour is. Go and watch Max have a great time in the away end, because it looked like it was a very fun place to be yesterday. So check out Villa on Tour as well. That's it from me. Enjoy the rest of your Monday.